Hey everybody, happy, Thursday. Wanted to jump in here to answer a question that Julia had posted in my Badass Online Marketers group. Specifically, she listened to this week's podcast episode, which was about, being a leader and thinking like a leader in your business. And she said that she was afraid maybe she was missing the point, and was trying to figure out, when do you actually go about hiring someone, and why would you hire someone, considering like when you could just go ahead and uh, you could do the work yourself. And so I wanted to address that with this live, to kind of give you some insight into my thinking about when it is, why you would do it, etc. And what it comes down to is this: there's a couple of reasons that you need to be thinking about hiring. But in the large scale, the point isn't about whether you have time or not. Now, there's a couple of things here. Number one, if you don't have a lot of time, if you're feeling overwhelmed in your business, if you're feeling like there are a million things to do and you don't have time to do all of them, then you should hire someone for sure, because you've got to start getting some of that work off your plate. So that's part of it if you're in that place. And when I hear from entrepreneurs, what I hear from them is that they're overwhelmed, that they feel like there's too many things to get done, that they can't get it all done, that they can't keep up. And there's this analogy that Dave Ramsey makes when he's talking about getting out of debt. And he says that sometimes you have a situation where basically there's a logjam. And it's this old concept. We've all heard the word logjam. What a logjam refers to is like when you're like logging and you're bringing logs down a river, sometimes when they hit a curve, too many of them get there and they just get jammed up. And sometimes you can pull one off or something and that'll free it up. But a lot of the times you have to throw some dynamite in there to really kind of knock it out and to get traction. Well, Dave Ramsey uses this reference and he talks about it in terms of getting out of debt, but it's the same thing in your business. And what I mean by this is, so many entrepreneurs are not getting traction. They feel like they're on a treadmill. They feel like they're constantly doing stuff. So they're not able to actually kind of make the progress they want to kind of really start moving forward. And because of that, they feel like, I can't afford a VA yet. I can't afford to do this because I'm not making money. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. And this is one of those like tough love moments. The reality is, sometimes this is a place where you've got a logjam and you got to throw some dynamite into the mix. And what I mean by that is, even if you're not yet making money, sometimes what you have to do to actually start making money is you got to throw the dynamite into the mix and into your business. And in this case, throwing the dynamite in is about getting someone to take some of the tasks off your plate. Because here's the point I was making in the podcast episode from Tuesday, but here's a broader point. You are not going to make money spending your time doing customer support. And by customer support, like there might be some high touch customer support that matters. But what I'm talking about is, in my business, I have lots of people who have trouble, for example, and they've lost their login or they can't get logged in. And for a long time, I was spending quite a bit of time responding to those requests, going into Kartra, resending credentials and sending that. Now, that's work that has to get done. You got to get that done to build your business in my business model. But me spending time doing that meant that I couldn't be doing the more important work. And so everything we're doing in business is about doing the more important work. So my question, to kind of respond to Julia's question of like, how, if I could do this work, why should I pay someone to do it? Well, because what does doing that work mean you're not doing? In other words, what are you not doing because you're doing work that you could outsource to a VA or you could outsource to someone else? And that is the question that becomes most important. And there's this concept that I refer to as your 4% work. And I'm going to talk about it more during tomorrow's workshop about ditch your overwhelm. But the concept of the 4% work is, it's kind of the fractal nature of the 80-20 rule. And if me saying that just made you say, what in the world is he talking about? The 80-20 rule, we all know about. It's the concept that, 80% of your results are going to come from 20% of your work. 80% of your money comes from 20% of your customers, all of that. And it holds true over and over again. And the really cool thing is that you can then apply that 80-20 rule within the 20%. So what that means ultimately is that 4% of your effort is going to result in about 64% of your results. Think about that for a second. If 4% of your effort results in 64% of your work, and let's say you're working like a 40-hour week, that means that literally stuff that you're doing for about 2 hours every week is what really matters in your business and what is really moving you forward. And what if you could identify that and cut 2 hours somewhere else that you were doing on stuff that you shouldn't be doing and double the amount of time you spend on that 4% work? That's when all of a sudden you're going to start to see the snowball effect. That's when all of a sudden you're going to start to make a ton of progress. So that's the important thing is, yes, you could do this work. You could do a lot of the stuff that you can outsource to a VA. Let me be very clear. If you've interacted with my customer support this month, you've been talking to Bobby Joe, not Bobby Joe. And Bobby Joe does that work, and she sorts through my email inbox and puts things in the right place. And I could do all of that. But if I'm doing that, guess what I'm not doing? I'm not here doing a live for you. I'm not in my paid Facebook memberships providing value. I'm not able to create new content. I'm not able to do all of those other things that are a heck of a lot more important in really moving my business forward. And so that's the first answer. And even if you have some time and you've got some free time, some personal time that you could put into it, the question becomes, is giving up that personal time more important than hiring someone to do this work? And this was something that I came to a while back because, look, the reality is when I'm not working, I'm spending time with my family. And to me, that time is worth a ton. And so every minute that I can outsource a task to someone else is a minute that either I can work on the high leverage work in my business or I can be with my family. And both of those things are worth a heck of a lot more than what I could pay someone else to do some of this work for me. So that's part of the reason. And it's an analogy I made. And I'll be honest with you, this shift was important to me because, like, growing up, I was raised by like a father who talked about, like, he took pride in mowing his own grass, in washing his own cars, in doing all of those things. And for a long time, I had like guilt about hiring someone to do that stuff. And at some point I said, screw that noise. Because again, every minute that I spend mowing my grass is time that I'm not doing things that are more high leverage, whether it be in my business or in my personal life. So the shift you need to make is, and I think Tracy, there was someone in some of the comments on this post that I originally was talking about this, someone pointed out that we have to think about the fact that too many of us don't value our time enough, highly enough. And we need to think about our time, and your time is the one thing you can't get back. You can generate more money as an entrepreneur. You can find a way to make money. You can find a way to do that. Every minute of your life is a minute that you will never get back. And so think about that and make this shift. And that's why I'm saying, I think it was last Friday's episode, I said hiring a VA can change your life. So if you haven't listened to that, I want you to go back and listen to that episode of the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast, because I talk about how literally just freeing up 5 hours of your time per week in your business by delegating some of the things that you don't need to be doing can be huge for your business. So that's the first reason. Now, the second reason is a bit different. And what I want to talk about is this. It is the reality that the longer you wait to delegate, the harder it gets. And this is where I'm telling you, listen to what I say, not to what I did, because I didn't do this right. The first 2 years of the first year of my business, I was 100% alone. I had no one helping me. And I'm talking about the first year that I was actually successful, not even counting like the 6 months before that I was trying and failing. And then even last year in 2019, I was doing some work. I had a VA doing social media for me at the beginning, and then I've hired, et cetera. But still, I was doing a lot of this kind of myself. And as a result, it got very hard to actually bring someone on and delegate after that, because I had so much knowledge like in my head rattling around about what's going on in my business, etc. Like I've had a team now going on, like 3 people on a team going on a little over 4 months now, and they're still trying to get stuff out of my brain. Like, hey, what is this thing over here that we've got going on where we've got leads coming in? Because only I know that stuff. And so the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be, both because there's so much built up institutional knowledge in your head, but it also becomes harder for you to let go of things. And I'm going to give you some examples here. There were a couple of things in my business that I never did. I outsourced from day one that I did them. One of them was podcast editing. I never once edited a single one of my podcasts. And so as a result, it was never a thing where it's like, oh, I don't know if I can let go of that. I don't know if I can give someone else, that responsibility. There was none of that, because from day one, they were doing it. Similarly, and I see Katie is on and she's going to get mad at me, Pinterest. I don't understand Pinterest, so I've never done it. I have outsourced that from the very first time I had any Pinterest account. Someone was doing that for me. And so as a result, it's always been easy for me to give up control of that. Now, on the other side, like Facebook ads, I've had Facebook ads managers, but what I'll tell you is that it's hard for me to give up Facebook ad control because I've been doing it myself for so long. So it's hard to let go of that. And Bobby Joe would tell you, I'm not supposed to be in my inbox. Good luck with that. Because I've been doing it for so long, letting go of that is so much harder. So this is the other reason that I would say that it's better to start early, because the sooner you start delegating, the easier it's going to be for you, both for that task, but also more generally. And it's going to be easier because, number one, you don't have all this built up knowledge, but also just from a mindset perspective. And what I will tell you is I am in a bunch of, groups where people are dealing with this. And like I'm in one group, a group coaching program, which is all about building out your team. And one person is really struggling with it, like struggling giving up control of customer support, for example, and wanting to micromanage that. And this is one thing that Bobby Joe, I see she's on here, and she will at least give me credit for this. I don't want to say I don't care. I do care about customer support, but I've essentially given my team a couple of rules. I said, look, we're going to give grace instead of being a stickler for rules. And we have fun generally. And I want to be empathetic. And beyond that, I give them control. I let them make those decisions. And that shift means I don't even have to spend a moment of my mental bandwidth on it. Well, this person in the group coaching program is struggling with it. Like feels like, well, what if like my customer support person answers something differently than I would have? What I will guarantee you is that now when you're dealing with support in my company, you are getting a different answer than I would have written probably. But you know what? You're probably getting a better answer. You're getting a better answer because I'm not having to answer it in like, half a minute that I have here or there. And quite honestly, personality type, I don't have the right personality type necessarily to be the person responding to customer support. And that's not good, bad, or otherwise. It just is. And so letting go of that has been a huge help for me. And so I'm giving you this, and I'm talking about this for a while because I want you to understand that the sooner you start delegating, number one, the easier it's going to be, but also the more quickly you're going to start making the kind of progress that you want and need to be making in your business. And again, I know it's hard, especially for people who are like, who maybe you're not making that much money, or maybe you're just starting and not making any money. What I'm going to tell you is the more quickly you can find the ability to hire a VA for 5 hours a week to do the stuff that needs to be done, but doesn't need your attention, the better. Now, the trick is that 5 minutes that you free up, you need to make sure that you're actually using it the right way. In other words, you're using it either for a high leverage activity in your business, or for rest and relaxation, which is important, for family time, for something like that. But if you'll do that, you will all of a sudden see things start to snowball and start to kind of really get traction in your business. So yeah, Even if you can do the work yourself, get that VA. Even if it's 5 hours a week, and start doing that now, and you will be rewarded. So that's my answer. Now, again, if you are an entrepreneur who is dealing with overwhelm, who isn't sure about, how to get all of the stuff done. And if you hear me talking about this 4% work and you're like, yeah, great, Bobby, but what is my 4% work? All of that is what we're going into in the Ditch Your Overwhelm workshop, which is coming up tomorrow. What is that? It's March 6th. So I'd love for you to join me. If you want to get more info, head over to bobbyklink.com/March 2020 workshop. Again, bobbyklink.com/March 2020 workshop. You'll be able to get all the info, get all the details, and you can get access to that. And we're going to go in deep and kind of help you understand and think through how to stop feeling overwhelmed, and how to know what you should be focusing on, and what tasks you can eliminate altogether, and what tasks you should be thinking about delegating. So that's what we'll be talking about. Hopefully you'll join me, but otherwise have a great rest of your week. I'll talk to you later. Bye.